Welcome to your practice for today. Today I'd like to share with you a more traditional style of yoga. So this is the style of yoga I originally trained in through Ashram Yoga New Zealand, through the Satyananda and Shivananda lineage of yoga. I love this practice. I love the way that we work with our physical body through our yoga asana practice, through our posture practice, and then we spend some time with pranayama or breathing practice, and then we either work with meditation or with relaxation. And for me, this feels like a really complete way of practicing. We also sometimes use sound or chanting in this way of practicing as well. So I call this Hatha Yoga, but you can refer to it as Satyananda Yoga if you prefer. So I hope you enjoy the practice. Let's begin seated. You're welcome to begin in any shape that feels easy for you to sit in. You don't have to have your legs crossed. If it's helpful, you might like to lift your hips up by sitting on something. You're welcome to close your eyes or to drop your gaze downward if it feels more comfortable to have your eyes open. Taking a moment to settle, and that might involve a little bit of wriggling and adjusting, so that you feel as though you can be comfortable in the shape that you've chosen. As you're settling, you might like to notice such things as your legs and the comfort level of your legs. Do they need to change slightly? Would you appreciate a little bit more support? Maybe you could place blankets or blocks under your legs. And how about your spine? Perhaps it helps to exaggerate the curves in your spine just to notice where middle is. So you might collapse a little bit and let your tail tuck under and your head drop down and notice a sense of collapse in your spine. And then you might reverse it and actually kind of prop or over-exaggerate the lengthening and lifting of your spine. And then where would center be? Where would middle be, so that you can find a sense of ease, an easeful elongation of your spine without too much effort. And then maybe you might check in with your neck. Maybe it helps to move your head around a little bit, lifting and lowering your chin or turning your head, moving your head. Where does it feel as though your head is just balanced nicely on top of your spine? Our head is quite heavy, so how can you support yourself and support your position here by providing the most easeful alignment of your head? Allowing your shoulders to drop away from your ears. Your arms to hang comfortably, softening the skin of your face, letting go of any tension around your eyes, between your eyebrows, any gripping or tightness in your jaw. And can you become aware of your breath and welcoming your breath into your practice? Maybe this is the first time today that you've noticed that you're breathing. And you don't even need to change anything about your breath. The moment we notice our breath, the moment the unconscious becomes conscious, we generally slow down a little bit. We generally find some slightly deeper breaths, and we automatically begin to drop into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest, our heal, our nourishment, the way that we support ourselves to find ease. If it does feel helpful for you, you're welcome to intentionally add a little bit extra to your breath. So maybe you take a slightly longer breath in, and particularly you might take a slightly longer exhalation. Noticing if you've collapsed the length of your spine at all, and if you can easily lengthen without too much effort. Let's begin our practice today with 3 Oms. You're welcome to join me in the chanting of the Oms, or you're welcome just to listen to the sound if you prefer. So you might like to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then a breath in to begin. Om. Om Shanti. May the practices that follow bring you peace. When you're ready, let's begin to lengthen our legs out in front. If you're sitting up on something, you're welcome to stay seated up there, or maybe you slide down and onto the floor. And at first we can just take a really easy seated shape, so you might place your hands beside you. You're welcome to do this with your eyes open or closed. And let's begin to circle through our ankles. So your ankles can circle in the same direction or in opposite directions. It really doesn't matter too much. But what I do invite you to do is to notice the sensations that you're feeling as you're circling your ankles and your toes. And perhaps to slow it down a little bit. If your eyes are closed, you might be able to really feel how your ankles move on the floor. Maybe there's a little bit of clicking and popping happening here in the joints of your feet. If your eyes are open, maybe you can see your feet moving and you might notice the textures, muscles, tendons. You can change direction as well. And is it possible to layer an awareness of your breathing in here as well? So can you be aware of your feet moving and of your breath breathing? And maybe you even create a link between the two. And then when you're ready, let's bring that back to stillness. So bringing your hand behind the back of one of your thighs, just up near the back of your knee. As you breathe in, let's draw our knee in towards our chest, and as you extend your leg, you can lower it back down to the floor. So this doesn't have to be a big hamstring stretch, because right now what we're more interested in is in mobilizing and moving through your knee and hip joint. So it doesn't matter how high your leg goes. So if you're choosing to breathe in as you draw your knee in, you'll be creating a bit of intra-abdominal pressure, and this will then create a sense of massage through all of your abdominal organs. So it can be really helpful for digestion and for supporting your digestive processes and organs. Let's take one more of these. And then when you're ready, you can switch over towards your other side. Again, breathing in, sitting nice and tall through your spine if you can, and breathing out as you extend your leg down towards the floor. Can you move at a pace that allows your breath to have fullness? So your full inhalation as your leg comes in, and your full exhalation as you extend and lower your leg. Let's take another 2 of these. And then from here, we can bring the soles of our feet together, opening your knees out. Now, you only need to open them as wide as they feel comfortable for you. You might be quite close together, or maybe you're out really wide. So maybe you bring your hands down to the floor just to support you here, and then you might draw your knees in and out. And once again, maybe you also bring your breath into your awareness, and perhaps you can move and breathe at the same time, simultaneously. So maybe you breathe in as your knees come together, and maybe you breathe out as your knees come apart. And let's take another one. So from here, you might choose to use your hands to help support your spine to sit a little taller, maybe even tipping your pelvis forward and opening your heart by drawing your shoulder blades back together, nice and long through your neck. If this feels really easeful for you, you might like to bring your hands forward and perhaps take hold around your ankles, and then gently, really gently, you might start to pull yourself forward. Just navigating how much effort you make. Maybe you move your hands to your feet. So is it possible for you to keep your spine fairly straight at this point? So rather than collapsing through your upper back and rounding your head and trying to put your head down on your feet, what would it be like if you were to project your spine long? So really keeping your sitting bones reaching backwards and the top of your head reaching forward on the diagonal. And maybe you feel a bit of stretch through your hips or through your inner legs. I really encourage you in your yoga practice not to force. So when we're forcing and really trying hard, we tend to shorten our breath comes in rasps and gasps. We tend to strain ourselves in some way. So I really encourage you to practice your yoga in a way that your breath can always be easeful, without strain. And then when you're ready, coming back up from there, let's hug our knees together. You might like to wrap your arms around, and maybe it does feel good to drop your head down to rest on your knees for a moment. And then let's come into an easy cross-legged position. Resting your hands on your thighs, on your kneecaps, you might like to begin to circle. So with your torso circles, they don't have to be big, but they can be. But I do recommend that they be slow and that you also include your breath. So maybe you breathe in as you come forward and out as you lean back, or maybe it works the other way for you. It doesn't really matter too much, as long as you're breathing and moving. Again, this is another practice which is really great for our abdominal area, for the physical organs, for our digestive system, for our reproductive system, but also for the energetic house of this part of our body. You can change directions. You might like to also activate your pelvic floor muscles a little bit, particularly as you lean back. So there's a little bit of a gripping down in your lower abdomen. And this will support your lower back if you're leaning back. Let's take 2 more of our torso circles in this direction. And then finding your way up to center, let's take a twist. You can cross one hand over, just reaching for your opposite knee and taking your opposite hand behind, sitting nice and tall through your spine, using your hand on the floor behind to encourage length and opening through your chest, and then beginning to twist. Noticing if you're twisting by drawing your hips forward or one of your hips forward, or whether you can twist more from your waist and keep both of your sitting bones anchored on the floor as they are. Also noticing if you're over-efforting at all in your arms. Can be really common for us to try and force or pull ourselves deeper into a shape than we really need to go. So can you drop into your breath and allow your breath to be nice and easeful here? Perhaps even taking some lower belly breaths and letting your lower abdomen swell as you breathe in, and receiving the goodness of that massage from your twist. And on your next exhalation, coming back to center and switching sides, using your hand behind to encourage your spine to lengthen, and then starting to move towards your twist. Anchoring yourself here, pausing and landing on your breath. Softening any over-efforting in your arms or shoulders. Trusting that our yoga will do the work for us. And on your next exhalation, coming back to center. So let's make our way onto our hands and knees. If you're on a fairly firm surface, you might like to use a blanket underneath your knees just to give you a little bit of extra support. If you find that you have trouble with your wrists, you could roll up the end of your mat, and maybe you place the heels of your hands on the edge of your mat and your fingertips on the floor, and that might just reduce the amount of curve happening through your wrist, the amount of pressure happening through your wrist. From here, let's take a breath out, and as you breathe out, you can tuck your tail and tuck your chin, creating a dome-like shape through your spine. And as you breathe in, flowing the other way, turning your tail up, lifting the crown of your head, gazing forward. And continuing to move back and forth with our cat-cow shape here. So you can still be doing this with your eyes closed if that feels helpful for you. And I encourage you to notice any sensations that you feel in your body right now. Maybe you sense your hands or your knees or the tops of your feet on the floor. Maybe you feel your spine. Letting any of the information that you receive from your body guide you into making choices for your practice. So if you receive information that says this is hurting me, this is uncomfortable, how can you support yourself to practice without pain? So even when you arch your spine, turn your tail and the crown of your head upwards, you can still draw your belly back towards your spine a little bit. So you're continuing to keep a slight engagement of your core muscles here. And then when you're ready, coming back to neutral, and let's take our knees ever so slightly wider, big toes can touch, dropping your hips back towards your heels and finding child's pose. You're welcome to drop your forehead down to the floor if you choose, or you might bring your hands underneath your head for support. So in your child's pose, maybe you're still, or maybe you're rocking a little bit from side to side. You might even roll your forehead over the floor or over the backs of your hands. And movements that have a rocking motion can be quite soothing to our nervous system. So as you're practicing, noticing what feels helpful for you. What feels as though it supports what you need from your practice today. When you're ready, let's find our way back up to our hands and knees, and then keep moving your weight forward and starting to drop your thighs, pelvis, belly, chest, and finally your forehead down towards the floor. And then let's reverse that, lifting your head, your chest, pressing into your hands, belly lifts, tummy in, coming all the way back towards child's pose. And let's move a few more times with this. A rolling cobra, rolling up from hands and knees and laying yourself down beautifully on the floor. And then peeling yourself back up from the floor again, coming all the way back through hands and knees and into child's pose. Feel free to adapt and modify and change the way that you need to do this for your body. It's your practice and it's your body. It doesn't need to look like the way I'm doing it. So one of the things that you might like to add in is keeping a little bit of an engagement through your abdominal area or through your core. So maybe it helps to just draw your belly back towards your spine a little bit, a wee activation of pelvic floor muscles, a little squeeze right deep down there in your pelvis. Maybe that helps, especially if you're working with vulnerability or injury in your spine. The next time you're coming up from this, let's tuck our toes under and find our way to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Pressing into the floor with the palms of your hands, spreading your fingers nice and wide. Little fingers can come almost all the way or all the way to the outside edge of your mat. So you've got plenty of space for your shoulders. Perhaps let's bend one leg and straighten the other, just opening up a little bit of space in the lower part of your legs, taking a wee stretch here. So in my opinion, downward facing dog is more of a spinal lengthening, or it's more important to have good alignment in your spine than it is to have straight legs. So I really like to teach this one by encouraging you to come up onto the balls of your feet first, bend your knees quite a lot, push your hips backwards, open your armpits and encourage your spine to lengthen. So you might like to begin to or attempt to line your ears up with your upper arms. Now if you have tightness in your shoulders, this will be challenging. So don't worry if you can't quite get your ears in line with your upper arms. Drawing your belly in a little bit, And then from here, if you do begin to lengthen your legs, you want to make sure that that doesn't then affect the lengthening of your spine. Can you still keep your spine long as your legs lengthen and maybe as your heels drop towards the floor? And if you can't, I really encourage you to keep your knees bent in your down dog. There's lots of other ways that we can stretch the backs of our legs. And when you're ready, let's bring both of our knees down to the floor. And you can step one of your legs forward, bringing your hands to the floor either side of your foot. So at this point, some people might appreciate using blocks or maybe some books underneath your hands, especially if you know that you have a little bit of tightness in your hamstrings. Feel free to add those in if you have them. So tucking your back toe under, as you breathe in, bring your chest forward and take a lovely breath. Make sure your knee is stacked over your heel in the front there, so we haven't got too much of a deep bend in our knee. You've got a nice line from your knee to your heel. As you breathe out, you can lift your back knee off the floor and start to move your hips back, beginning to straighten your front leg. It may or may not straighten. It might still be bent. Hamstring is lengthening, but maybe it's bent, maybe it's straight. Inhale as you come forward, back knee can drop to the floor. You can lift your chest, but notice what you do with your neck. Sometimes there's a tendency to collapse your head back. Can you still keep your gaze forward, but maybe just lift your eyes a little bit? Exhale back to hamstring stretch, stretching out over your front leg. Let's move back and forth. You could add lifting your arms off if you want to, in which case you may like to draw your belly in and squeeze your bottom and try and tuck your tail a little bit. And then exhale as you come back again to hamstring stretch over your front leg. Let's keep moving a few more times back and forth with these shapes. The next time you arrive in your lunge, let's hold this shape for a moment. So your back knee can come to the floor, you can untuck your toes, dropping into your lunge so you start to feel a good stretch through your hip flexor of your back leg. Now you can choose, hands can stay on the floor. This might be particularly helpful if you have a lower back that doesn't like to do back bending, or you could bring your hands up to your knees, or you can raise your arms overhead. And then whichever shape you've chosen, can you activate the muscles around your buttocks and lift yourself up about 2 millimeters. Draw your belly in, lengthening both sides of your waist, both sides of your torso, and making sure you have plenty of space around your ears. So you might like to take your arms a little bit wider in a V shape. Find your breath and notice maybe with this, the addition of lifting up a little bit out of your lunge, you might find that your heart rate is increasing and maybe your breath is speeding up. Absolutely fine, but make sure it stays comfortable. When you're ready, bringing your hands down to the floor, tucking your back toe under and starting to straighten both of your legs. You can spin your back heel down to the floor. If it feels too wide, just step it in a little bit. And we can take pyramid pose, reaching out over our front leg. So this is again a good time to put blocks underneath your hands if you need to help yourself lift up a little higher. You could also bring your hands up to your hips. This will involve needing to balance here in this shape, so just bearing in mind whether that's what you want to do right now or not. And make sure you're not locking your front knee out, so it's just a tiny wee bit bent. Hopefully you're experiencing some sense of length and stretch through the back of your front leg. And notice again your neck. So have you collapsed your head down? Are you craning your chin forward to look? You don't need to look. Just feel and listen to your body. Does this feel okay for your neck? Does this feel okay for your body? If you're really rounded in your upper back, it might mean that you need to have some support under your hands. Maybe you do need to have blocks under your hands, or maybe you need to bend your front leg. When you're ready, let's bring both hands to the floor, spin your back heel up, and we're going to step back to downward facing dog. Back in this shape again, remember bending your knees might be a really helpful way for you to lengthen your spine. Opening your armpits. Can you turn your armpits under and towards one another? Checking the back of your neck, maybe giving your head a little wiggle. Can you turn your sitting bones up towards the ceiling? Maybe your legs start to straighten. And then let's lower our knees down to the floor, stepping your other leg forward this time and coming into your lunge. Lining yourself up so that your knee is directly over your heel. You can tuck your back toes under. As you breathe in, drawing your chest forward, belly in, and as you breathe out, you can lift your back knee off, move your weight back, and start to hinge forward over your front leg. Continuing to move back and forth, possibly, if possible, really slowly, so that you're using your whole inhalation to come forward. Maybe your arms are rising up, and your whole exhalation to move back. And you might even be lengthening your inhalation and your exhalation as well. So the slower we move, the more we're able to catch all those little postural habits that we might have created over a lifetime of living in this body. So when you move slowly, you can start to repattern, retrain, recreate ways of moving that might be more sustainable for you for the rest of the life that you live in this body. So I really encourage you to move in your shape slowly and mindfully if you can. Breathing in and really opening your chest if that's okay for you. And breathing out and reaching forward over your front leg, hinging if you can, encouraging your spine to stay nice and long. The next time you come into your lunge, let's hold that shape. Maybe you're bringing your hands to your knee, maybe you're reaching your arms overhead. Activate the muscles of your buttocks and hips, pushing into the floor as though you're trying to scissor your legs together so that there's a little bit more muscle activation that happens there. Notice how that affects your heart rate. Notice how that affects your breath. Notice how that affects your degree of effort. Really wonderful and strengthening. And then on your next exhalation, you can bring your hands to the floor, lifting your back knee off again, starting to straighten your front leg, and you might turn your back foot down to the floor. Maybe you need to step it in a little bit. Feel free to bring your blocks under your hands or your hands to your hips. Maybe your hands can reach the floor and your spine can still stay long. Checking the comfort and ease of your neck and any other parts of your body that might need a little bit of adjusting, a little bit of extra support. Every time you come to your mat, you have this wonderful, fortunate opportunity of being in this laboratory of you, of your body. So I really encourage you to stay curious, to avoid going into kind of robot mode. Oh, I know this shape, I've done it a million times, this is how I do it without thinking. Every time we come to our shape, can it be the first time? How is it today? What is alive today? What do I need today? When you're ready, you can bend into your front leg, spin your back heel up, and step back to downward facing dog. Let's pause here and take a few breaths, or you might pop down into child's pose if that feels like a more nourishing and supportive choice for you right now. So from here, let's find our way up to the top of our mat, so you can walk your feet all the way up to your hands and fold forward over your legs. You might like to fold forward with your legs bent, maybe holding onto your elbows. You can really let your knees bend quite a lot if you like. Maybe your tummy is resting on your thighs. Or if it's feeling okay for you, you might straighten your legs, giving your head a little wobble to make sure that you're not holding any unnecessary tension. Bending your legs in a forward fold can be a really helpful way of supporting lower back issues, or if you have a lower back that tends to get worse or sore when you bend forward, then bending your knees can really help. And when you're ready from here, let's all bend our knees and let's begin to roll up nice and slowly. You can allow your head and shoulders to come up last. You might like to raise your arms overhead and then bring the palms of your hands together. Draw them down through the midline of your body and settle into Pranayama, a standing posture. So maybe you might like to just bend your knees a little bit, let your weight rock back into your heels, still feel a nice connection with the balls of your feet and your toes. ever so slightly tucking your tail, just this tiny micro movement. It's so small, no one can see it. Allowing your chest to be broad on the front and on the back. Noticing how can you balance your head on top of your structure so that everything feels aligned. Just pausing here for a moment and finding your breath. From here, let's step our feet a little bit wider. You can interlock your hands and press the palms of your hands down to the floor. Let's inhale as we raise our arms overhead. Draw your belly in, pelvic floor on. Exhale, take a lean across to one side. Really use your core muscles to bring you back to center as you inhale and over to your other side. Draw your belly in and bring you back to center. And on your next exhalation, you can drop your hands back down to the floor. If that felt at all too much for you, please feel free to do the second round with your hands on your hips. So when you're ready, inhale, arms rise, belly in, core muscles working, lean across to one side, keeping strong through your core, draw yourself back to center and over to your other side. Strong through your core, draw yourself back to center, exhale, arms releasing down. Let's take two more. Breathing in to rise and breathing out to lean across. Breathing in to rise and breathing out to lean across. Breathing in to rise and releasing as you drop back down. One more time. And releasing from there. Nice work, everybody. So coming back again to feet in parallel at the front of your mat, let's raise our arms up and overhead, bending your knees and letting yourself melt softly down to a forwards fold. Letting your forwards fold be really easy. As you inhale, drawing your hands up your shins to just above or below your knees, lengthening your spine nice and long, tummy in. This is our halfway lift, Adho Uttanasana. Bending your knees as you fold forward and then step your right leg back behind you, nice and wide. When you're in your lunge here, your front knee is directly above your heel so that you've got a good alignment for your knee. Let's raise our arms up and overhead, holding here, high lunge position. If this is uncomfortable for your lower back, just bend your back knee and let your tail tuck a little bit. If you're okay with a straight back leg, absolutely fine. Neither one is better than the other. Holding here, maybe dropping a little deeper into the bend of your knee. Find your breath, breathing in and out. Letting yourself be here, maybe noticing an intensity beginning to build in your legs. Stay with your practice. On your next inhalation, lifting up through center, spinning your back foot down and dropping into warrior two. So bending into your front leg. You want to make sure that you can still see your big toe on the inside of your front knee. Arms can raise out at shoulder height. The outside edge of your back foot is nice and anchored down on the floor. Now lean forward and then lean backwards and then find center. So where is center for you? It might help to draw your tummy in a little bit. You don't have to have your hips really wide apart. You might turn your back hip in so that your knee can track towards your second toe, and so there's not this sense of stress and pressure through the back of your pelvis. On your next inhalation, let's straighten our front leg without locking it. Drop your backhand down. Your front palm can reach up towards the sky, reversing your warrior, really reaching. And then bending into your front leg again, you can bring your elbow to your knee, or your hand can come to the floor. Your back arm can reach all the way up and overhead, turning your palm down, and maybe you might turn your head to gaze up under your upper arm. Side angle stretch, holding here, finding your breath. Again, maybe there's intensity building. Maybe your breath is a little shorter than usual, continuing to work to lengthen if you can. Let's bring both hands down either side of our front leg and spin your back heel up. We're going to step our back leg forward and arrive back in our forwards fold. You can choose whether it's a straight-legged forwards fold or a bent-legged forwards fold. Releasing your head, give it a wobble. Arms can rise up and overhead as we come all the way up to standing and arrive back at Pranayama with our hands at our heart. Taking a couple of breaths here, letting yourself settle into your standing shape. Let's practice that sequence on our other side. So when you're ready, raising your arms up and overhead, bending your knees and melting forward over your legs. Nice and soft, nice and easy. Head hangs. As you breathe in, you can draw your hands up your shins. Lengthen your spine, drawing your shoulder blades together and have your tummy lifting so you're supporting your lower back. Folding forward over your legs again, and this time your left leg can step back nice and long, nice and wide between your legs. Bent into your front leg. Raising our arms up and finding high lunge. Back leg can be straight, back leg can be bent, dropping your shoulders away from your ears. Tummy in will support the curve of your lower back. Finding this shape and finding your breath in this shape. Maybe you might even lift up a little tiny bit as you inhale and drop down a little tiny bit as you exhale, feeling that sense of softening, rising and softening. On your next inhalation, let's straighten through our front leg without locking. Spin your back foot down and open out into Warrior Two. Your back foot is turned in a little bit, front toes pointing towards the front edge of your mat. Make sure you can still see your big toe on the inside of your front knee, and do allow your back hip to turn in if that feels better for you. Leaning forward, leaning backward, and finding center. Dropping your shoulders away from your ears, maybe dropping a little deeper into the bend of your front leg. Strong legs, strong body, strong you. Let's straighten into our front leg, dropping your back hand down, spinning your front palm up, exalting your warrior, reaching up towards the sky, through the roof and towards the infinite heavens above. When you're ready, bending into your front knee, you can take your elbow to your knee or your hand to the floor. Back arm can reach all the way up and overhead, creating a long line through the top side of your body. Still keeping your feet anchored to the floor. Belly in will help support you with a good, strong core. Find your breath. On your next exhalation, hands to the floor, spinning your back heel up. Let's step it forward, folding forward over our legs. Your leg can be bent, your legs can be straight. And then when you're ready, bending your legs, bending them a lot so that you can press into your feet and come all the way up and arrive back home in Pranayama, hands at your heart. Taking a few breaths. Let's move through this sequence one more time, a little bit faster this time. Breathing in, arms rise up and overhead, nice and tall. Softly melt over your bent legs until your head hangs forward from your pelvis. Inhale, halfway lift, Adha Uttanasana. Exhale, folding forward over your legs, knees can be bent. Stepping your right leg back. Anchoring into your feet, rising up nice and tall. Feel free to support, modify, or change these shapes in any way that you need to. As you inhale, lifting up, spinning your back foot down, and arriving in Warrior Two. Pausing here, taking a few breaths. On your next inhalation, exalt your warrior, reverse your warrior, lifting up towards the sky. Belly in will really help you with balance and also support. On your next breath out, elbow to knee or hand to floor, back arm comes all the way over, and maybe you turn up to look up under your upper arm. Bringing both hands to the floor, spinning your back heel up, stepping it forward. Feel free to hop it forward if that helps you more. Folding forward over your legs. Let's bend our knees softly, gently, lifting all the way up, palms together, and then arriving home to your heart with your hands. Moving to your other side, breathing in, arms rising up overhead, beautiful and long, melting forward over your legs, taking a fold, releasing through your head and neck. Halfway lift, hands slide up your legs, folding forward again and stepping your left leg back. Anchor into your feet, rising up beautiful and tall through your high lunge position. Release your shoulders away from your ears. Pausing here, tummy in, legs strong. Inhale as you spin your back foot down. Exhale, dropping into your warrior two. Reaching your arms, torso centered, legs strong. Inhale, reversing warrior, exalting your warrior, reaching towards the heavens. And on your next exhalation, elbow to knee or hand to the floor as your back arm comes all the way over and there is a beautiful, long, lengthened line through the top side of your body. Bringing both hands to the floor, spinning your back heel up. Let's step or hop your back leg forward, folding forward over your legs, releasing your head. Bending your knees, coming all the way up from here. And bringing your hands home to your heart. Allowing yourself to settle for a moment in this standing shape. Just notice. What do you notice about your body, about your breath, about your experience right now? Perhaps your heart is thumping away in your chest. Perhaps that wasn't particularly challenging for you. Maybe your focus was on something else. Your breath, sensations in your body. Allowing your body to return to your baseline, homeostasis. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Let's move towards a lovely little sequence of balances. So you might like to step your feet together at first. And then crossing one foot over your other and just placing your foot on the floor. And you can swing your arms across to the same side as your foot, joining your thumb and forefinger together and just lining them up so that you can look through the hole or the two holes. And then turn your head in the opposite direction and balance here. Lord Krishna's pose. I think this is a beautiful, graceful yoga pose. You were playing celestial flute. So just standing here, finding your breath, allowing this posture to be graceful, to be soft, to have beauty. And then when you're ready, release your arms, raise them up and overhead. Join your palms together and bring your hands down to your heart. Picking your foot up off the floor, bringing your knee to your chest, and we're going to fold forward as we reach our leg away. You might like to come just a little way forward, so maybe your foot is quite close to the floor and you remain quite upright, or maybe you're folding all the way forward into Warrior Three. You might take your arms out to your sides like an aeroplane if that helps you to balance, or there might be some other placement for your arms. You can choose. Holding here, finding your breath, balancing, noticing your standing leg, the wonderful amount of support it's providing for you. Don't worry if you fall over, just keep coming back to practice. And when you're ready, coming all the way up from there, bringing the palms of your hands back to your heart again. Allowing yourself to settle. Let's practice that on our other side. Crossing one leg over, bringing the toes of your foot to the floor for support. Swinging your hands over to the same side, linking thumb and forefinger of each hand and lining them up together. And then turning your head to look over your opposite shoulder. It might help to draw your belly in a little bit and to reach tall and long through your spine. Just pausing here, making sure you're not locking out your straight leg. Can it still be a little bit soft? Maybe you place a small smile on your lips. Smiling can help us to welcome grace and beauty. When you're ready, releasing your arms, raising them up and overhead, bringing the palms together, hands to heart as your knee lifts up, and then you float forward into your balance. Remembering that it doesn't have to go far. You might just tip forward a little bit, or maybe you're coming all the way forward. You get to choose. Holding here, feeling the strength of your standing leg, making sure you're not locking your knee out. Embracing the wobbles. Wobbles are part of life. When you're ready, coming all the way up from there. Beautiful work, everybody. Let's step our feet a little bit wider than our hips. You can turn your toes out slightly. Arms can raise up as you breathe in. As you breathe out, let's begin to drop down into a squat. Now, some of you might be coming to a half squat, and others might be coming all the way down to a full squat. You might need to adjust a little bit to find that shape. If you're wanting to come down to a full squat, but your knees are just not happy with this today, you might just come to sitting on the floor, placing your feet out in front, and you can still bring your elbows into your inner thighs. This is also a really great practice. You still get a lovely deep crease in your hips and in your knees, but it just takes the pressure off your knees and your ankles. So whichever one of those shapes you're practicing, pausing here, finding your breath. Can you lengthen your spine a little bit more? Checking out the back of your neck, is it still long? And then when you're ready, let's come down to the floor and extend our legs out in front. You might like to lift the flesh of your buttocks away so that you can sit up nice and tall on your sitting bones. Or you might bring something in underneath, maybe a folded blanket. So let's bend one leg and place the sole of your foot on the floor. Just keep a little gap between your legs. So whichever leg you've bent, place your same hand down in between that gap. Opposite hand behind you, twisting away from your bent leg. Twisting away from your bent leg. Seeing if you can keep both of your sitting bones on the floor. So if you've lifted one off the floor, can you resettle it down to the floor again? So taking a nice easy twist here, a nice open twist. Drawing your back shoulder back, your front shoulder forward, continuing to sit nice and tall through your spine, using your hand on the floor behind you to support this. Holding here. And then coming back to center, releasing both of your legs long and switching sides, drawing your other leg in. Same hand as bent leg, pops down into the gap there. Use your hand on the floor behind to sit really tall and take a twist away from your bent leg. Resettle both of your sitting bones down to the floor, drawing your shoulders back so that the gap between your shoulder blades narrows slightly. Finding your breath here. And coming back to center. Let's extend both of our legs out. Again, you might like to move the flesh of your buttocks back. If you find forward folds quite challenging, or if you're feeling like a more gentle forwards fold right now, feel free to bend your knees. Even place the soles of your feet to the floor so that your forward fold is like a really luscious, easy, gentle one. You might like to rest your tummy on your thighs, maybe even bring your elbows to your shins and rest your forehead into the palms of your hands. Alternatively, you can practice with your legs straight. I encourage you to keep your spine long at first if you can, maybe your hands behind to lengthen you might help. And if you are fairly forward in your fold, you might bring your hands around, maybe you take a hold around the sides of your feet, or perhaps you secure around your big toes. Again, encouraging your spine to be long, particularly if you have any issues with your spine. Particularly if you tend to get a sore back when you bend forward, then I really encourage you to keep your chest upright, your head upright, and to lengthen your spine. You'll get a lovely stretch through your hamstrings. If you don't have any issues with your back, and you are quite far forward so that your tummy is already resting on your thighs, then you're welcome to begin to drop your head down towards the gap between your legs. I would really only recommend that if you have enough of a crease in your hips so that your tummy is resting on your thighs. If you're up quite far, it's not really helpful to get a big round through your spine there. You're not really going to be lengthening the backs of your legs if you do that. We can save that one for a little further down the journey of your practice. Taking 2 more breaths here. And then coming up from this, nice and easy. Let's make our way down to a short Shavasana, only about a minute or so, and we'll be coming into some breathing after that. So coming down onto the floor, you might like to rest with your knees bent, maybe letting your knees knock inwards towards each other. Or if it feels comfortable for you, you could extend your legs out long. You might place something behind the backs of your knees, a rolled up blanket, a bolster, a roll of towels, and just allowing this to be like the full stop at the end of the sentence, giving your whole body a few moments to rest and to allow for the integration of your posture practice, the integration of your asana practice. As you're resting here in this shape, I really encourage you to breathe out a little longer than you breathe in. And to let your out breath invite a feeling of heaviness, of widening and of deepening into your whole body. So your whole body becomes more and more at one with the surface beneath you. So that your whole body spreads and takes up more and more space. And so that your whole body can receive a moment more of rest. And then when you're ready, beginning to wriggle and stretch, rolling yourself over onto one side and using your hands to come up from there. Let's find our way to an easy seated shape. So this might be something like a similar shape to what you began your practice in today. Maybe you're in a different position. We're moving towards pranayama, breathing practice. So I really encourage you to sit in a shape that allows you to have a straight or a lengthened spine. So maybe a chair, maybe that helps you. There isn't any wrong way to sit. So pranayama, prana means life force, and ayama means expansion of or extension of. So when we practice our pranayama, we're working with our energy, our vitality, and our life force. We're working to expand that, to grow that. But we're growing it in a way that it still stays contained within our system. So we're not projecting it outwards. We're keeping it contained. We're keeping it as an energy and a resource that we recycle within ourselves. So taking a moment to sit nice and easy into your shape. Once again, perhaps beginning to connect to your legs, just as we did way back at the beginning of our practice. Feeling as though your legs and your pelvis are like the roots of your majestic tree. Allowing them to drop down into the earth, growing as deeply as feels okay for you. And from this solid connection to earth and to roots and to legs, your spine can lengthen with ease, without force, just with ease. Softening any tension or gripping in your face and in your jaw. And letting your attention land on your breath. If possible, breathing in and out through your nostrils. Can you begin to extend your breath slightly, taking a slightly deeper breath in or a longer breath in, and a slightly longer breath out. If you feel comfortable with your full yogic breathing, you might breathe in and imagine as though you're swelling your belly, as though your breath is beginning deep in your belly and rolling all the way up to your collarbones. And then as you breathe out, there's a long, slow leaking of your breath until your breath is completely emptied. If that feels at all overwhelming, or it causes you to feel a little bit spinny in your head, then please just feel free to use your natural length and depth of breath. In a moment, we'll move toward Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. I'll be showing you a mudra that you can use with your hand to support you to breathe through alternate nostrils. If one or both of your nostrils is blocked, please don't worry about using your hand. Just imagine as though your breath is flowing in the pathway as I'm describing it. So when you're ready, you might like to take your right hand and place your first and second finger between your eyebrows, so that your thumb is available to block your right nostril, and your ring finger is available to block your left nostril. And for a moment, blocking your right nostril and just allowing your breath to flow easily in and out through your left nostril. If this feels at all as though it's straining, please soften your breath. Allow your breath to be velvety and full of a gentle softness. At the end of your next exhalation, you can unblock your right nostril and block your left nostril with your ring finger. And letting your breath flow in and out through your right nostril, soft and gentle, making sure it is comfortable at all times. And the next time you exhale, you can unblock both nostrils. The full practice begins now, blocking your right nostril with your thumb, taking a long, smooth, easy breath in through your left nostril, pausing for a moment at the top and swapping nostrils, breathing out through your right. At the bottom, a small pause and staying exactly as you are as you breathe in through your right nostril. Pausing at the top and switching nostrils, breathing out through your left. Staying as you are for your next inhalation through your left nostril. At the top, switching sides and breathing out through your right. Breathing in through your right. And out through your left. Keep practicing. Each time you're about to exhale, you switch nostrils. So switching nostrils before each exhalation. Remembering that if one or both of your nostrils is blocked, feel free to release your hand and imagine the breath flowing up and down through your nostrils. Ensuring that your practice is comfortable at all times, that there is no strain. If your arm becomes tired, you could always take your left hand and just lightly support your elbow. Noticing also if you've lost the easeful length of your spine or if your head or neck has collapsed in any way. Encouraging your spine to be long and at ease. The next time you're exhaling through your left nostril, You can release your hand, bringing both hands again to rest and returning to easy, natural breathing in and out through your nostrils if possible. Noticing your experience of this moment. Maybe you feel at ease and at home and full of peace. Maybe your body is uncomfortable. Maybe it's hard not to fidget. Maybe you have thought or emotion present. And all of this is perfect. All of this is exactly as it is meant to be. So for these last few moments here, just notice, what is your experience? How is this practice sitting with you right now? Letting yourself be seen just as you are. And when you're ready, releasing all efforts. And you can choose, perhaps you might like to stay seated for meditation as the last part of your practice today. Or perhaps you might come to lying down on the floor in Shavasana. If you're coming to lie down on the floor, I encourage you to be warm. You might like to place a blanket or extra layers on. Maybe it helps to place a bolster or a rolled up blanket or cushions behind the backs of your knees so that there's no tension or discomfort in your lower spine. If you are placing something behind the back of your head, perhaps just let it be the minimal amount that you need for comfort, making sure that your chin is not jammed down into your chest. So taking a few moments to settle yourself into the shape that you're choosing for the completion of your practice today. Giving yourself time to settle and adjust and land into this shape. As you're arriving, can you begin to feel all the parts of your body that are making contact with the surface beneath you? Can you imagine as though those parts of your body are growing wider and deeper and spreading? And then beginning to turn your attention toward all the sounds that you might be able to hear around you. Noticing the soundscape and all of the sounds that are within it. And maybe there are many sounds where you are right now. And maybe there are very few. Continuing to listen, to send your awareness of sound out in all directions. Hearing not only the loud and obvious sounds, but also listening for the softer, more subtle sounds underneath. Maybe even identifying moments of silence. Moving your attention from sound to sound, hearing a sound, and then straight away listening for a new sound, or returning to one that you may have already heard. Sending your awareness of sound as far out as you possibly can, listening for the very most distant sound you can hear. And then drawing your attention back in and listening for sounds closer, perhaps sounds within the room that you are in. And then coming all the way into your body, becoming aware of your body and seeing the shape that your body is resting in right now. Can you begin to become aware of the whole of your right arm? The whole of your right arm, from your shoulder to your fingers. Noticing everything you notice about the sensations and experience of the whole of your right arm. welcoming feelings of ease and let go, letting your whole right arm rest. And then moving your awareness to your left arm, beginning to become aware of the whole of your left arm from your shoulder to your fingertips. Noticing the experience of your left arm, any sensations on the surface, on the inside. Inviting your left arm to let go and to rest. Then becoming aware of your right leg, the whole of your right leg from your hip all the way down your thigh, your lower leg, your foot and your toes. The whole of your right leg finding a sense of rest, a place of ease, letting go of tension, letting go of effort, resting the whole of your right leg. And then gathering your awareness and placing it in your left leg, cultivating an experience of your left leg in this moment. Your left leg finding rest. Your left leg growing wider, deeper, letting go. The whole of your left leg. Can you become aware of both of your arms? Both of your arms. Both of your arms, shoulders and hands resting and at ease. And becoming aware of both of your legs. Both of your legs. Both of your legs resting and at ease. Pouring your awareness into your torso. Expanding your awareness within your torso, becoming aware of all parts of your torso, from your hips to your shoulders, your chest, your belly, your pelvis, your spine, the whole of your torso growing wider and deeper and more at ease, more rested, the whole of your torso, the whole of your torso at rest. And then sensing your neck, your face, and the whole of your head, your neck, your face, and the whole of your head. Any sensations, any physical feelings that might be present, and imagining or welcoming a sense of widening, deepening, letting go of any tension. You might welcome your mind itself to widen and soften, perhaps to melt down to rest inside the back of your skull. Letting go even of thought, even if just for one moment, the whole of your neck, your face, your head, and your mind at ease. And then becoming aware of your whole body, your arms, legs, torso, neck and head, your whole body, your whole body at ease and at rest, widening, deepening, softening, and letting go. Your whole body resting. Perhaps you begin to notice your breath as it moves in your body. Perhaps you notice the gentle expansion and return, or ebb and flow of your easy natural breath as it moves within your body. Perhaps you might imagine as though your whole body is breathing from the inside out, as though you are expanding from your inside out and softening back again. And then gradually beginning to let this go as you start to make a few slightly deeper inhalations, and as you breathe in more deeply, starting to welcome in some movement. Perhaps you begin to open and close your fingers and your hands, or wriggle your toes. It might be helpful to move your neck and your head, maybe your jaw, stretching from fingers to toes, wriggling and rolling over to one side if you're lying down, or allowing yourself to remain seated if you're upright. Those who are down on the floor, please finding your way up to an easy seated shape so we can close our practice together. As you make your way towards your seat, you're welcome to close your eyes or to drop your gaze downwards. And perhaps you might bring the palms of your hands together at heart center and bow your head softly towards your heart. Taking a moment here at the end of your practice to notice how you are, to notice how it feels to be in your body in this moment. This moment is unique. This moment will never, ever happen again. And in this moment, you are a different person to the person you were at the beginning. You have created new cells during this time. Some cells have died and been replaced. Every breath is a new moment. Let's finish our practice with 3 Oms. You're welcome to join me in chanting these Oms, or simply listen if that feels preferred for you. Taking a breath in through your mouth, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And a breath to chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Peace, peace, perfect peace. Namaste. Thank you for joining me in this practice today. I hope that you found it helpful. If there's anything that you found useful, please feel free to squirrel that away in your own personal self-care toolbox. Feel free to repeat this practice as often as you find it useful. Take care.